the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is AVWeek, episode 181, recorded Friday, February 6th, 2015. Trojan horses.
Ready.
AVWeek.
Performing scan.
Week.
Online.
This is AVWeek. This is AVWeek, your weekly wrap-up of audio-visual news and information. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host. Welcome. Thank you so much. If you're watching live on Friday afternoon, thank you for joining us. With us this week is Mr. George Tucker, Engineering Coordinator for World Stage. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine. A little snowed in, but it's nice to be home today.
It is. You look very nice. If you're watching the video, George has a nice little bookcase behind him. Manned space flight for some reason. So,
yes, from Casa Tucker, yes.
Yeah, never mind. Also with us is Peter Brown from Stewart's Film Screen. How are you, sir?
Looking for a fun afternoon. It's warm and sunny here in Southern California.
What is the temperature there?
70 degrees always.
70 degrees always. Good Lord. Someone who's not 70 degrees, but all three of us will be hanging out with next week is Mr. Mike Blackman from Integrated Systems Events. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm here in, a little bit dark now, but it was sunny this afternoon in Amsterdam. We're just moving in, and when I arrived, it was about 0 degrees centigrade, so I don't know what that converts to in Fahrenheit.
32.
Oh, there we go.
It's the only one I know. The only one I know off the top of my head.
Can you give him like 13 or
exactly.
something?
Yeah, that's
metric. Yeah,
that one. And what is it? Isn't 100 boiling water? So that's 212. Is that right?
That's correct.
There you go. So 0 and 100, I can convert relatively quickly. So actually, Mike, we're all three going to see you next week at ISE 2015, Integrated Systems Europe, at the beautiful RAI in Amsterdam, which is where you are now. Real quickly, right? So one thing that we've been talking about, honestly, ever since AVNation was blessed enough and lucky enough to get to go, and our Kickstarter people helped us out, is why this matters, right? And not from the standpoint of, yes, it's the biggest AV show in the world, right? You several years ago, ISE bypassed Infocom as the most attended show. It also has more exhibitors there. But from a standpoint of for the industry, right? Whether you are in Europe or you're in India or you're in the U.S., what makes ISE special?
Well, it's when we started this show, and you mentioned Infocom. We are owned by CD and Infocom. Mm-hmm. It's a joint venture between the two organizations. So they have no worries about us being bigger now. It's one of those things where when we started the show back in 2004 was the first show. We started the event or the planning in 2003, and 2004 we made the first show in Geneva. And the concept was to actually make something for the industry, by the industry. And it's obviously we've done the right thing. All the major manufacturers participate because they want this show to happen. They want a place where they can get together and network. They want a place where they can meet their customers, where they can show new products. It's got to the stage now that all the new product launches in Europe happen at ISE. Okay, we have an advantage on the display manufacturers all coming straight from CES and bringing everything new from the US here a couple of weeks later. And that's been a benefit for us as well. A double whammy for all those companies involved. Yeah. But yes, the industry wants it, the industry loves it, and we listen to them, we do what they want, and they put it as the most important thing on their calendar.
Yeah, absolutely. And it does give it a nice midpoint, right, between Infocom and CEDIA, which are the two main ones here in the States. So,
and one of the things we say to everybody is all three shows are important. There are different times of the year. There are different. The products you'll see in Europe are not the same products you'll see in the US. There are differences. There are products that you have in the US that you just don't see here, and vice versa. So, it's necessary for the industry, for everyone to actually pay attention to all of the shows if they want to keep ahead of the market. And we're 6 months from each of those events. So it really lies well in terms of keeping ahead of the market. The manufacturers have the opportunity 3 times a year to bring new things out and meet their community.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that you guys have going on, our guys that review apps reviewed your app, and so can you talk a little bit about how that works and how folks get it? It's a free app on both Android and the iOS system. But what can people do with it?
One of the things that, firstly, why do we do an app? ISE has got bigger and bigger, and it's hard to navigate without the right tools. So we decided we need to actually create tools for our attendees and our exhibitors to be able to meet with each other, to be able to find each other, to find their way around the show, to get access to everything that's available. So we experimented, and this year we started with a new app. I was in the US in August, and I met a company called Double Dutch, and they showed us, funny, we were in Holland and they're called Double Dutch. They have an office here as well, fortunately enough. And they showed us this app that I was just blown away with. Firstly, the navigation part of actually having a floor plan that you can actually use. One of the problems with if you have a small show, it's easy to put it on any sort of portable device. But you can imagine most people they're not walking around with tablets. They're walking around with iPhones or Samsung phones or whatever. And seeing a floor plan from a large exhibition on something like that is quite deterring. But they showed us something that really worked, a plan where you get an overview and you can zoom and see detail. So that's the first part, to actually be able to find where you are, navigate around the show. Second part is the exhibitor list. Find out who's at the show, a complete listing of all exhibitors with details, their booth numbers, contact data, etc., all in that. Then the other parts are the conferences, the education, everything's being offered by CEDA and Infocom, and there's a whole row of certification, training, education coming from both associations at the show. You could take CTX exams here. Everything's available. You can see this online as well. So if you go to iseurope.org, you can find all the detail there, or go to the App Store either in Android or OS and download the app, and you get the data as well. It's free. And then we added some other tools to that as well. And a key part I thought was really good is the networking. One of the things we've always said at ISE is that what brings people to exhibitions is not only the fact to come and see new products and new information and just get up to date, but to meet your peers, to find out who else is doing business, get a feel for the market. Are you doing as well as you think, or should you be doing better? And to be able to network. So we put a networking tool where you can actually connect with other people at the show. One of the big things that's coming out about apps at the moment, and in fact in every sector within the exhibition industry, within all industries, is gamification. And that's actually putting something into, people like to play, people like to compete.
Yes.
So we put a competition in there. It's a leaderboard. Basically, every time you make a comment, if you're using the app and sharing information, if you put in a comment, you get a point. If you put in a photo in, so you've seen something nice at a booth, seen something that you haven't seen before, and say, wow, I'd like to share that. You take a photo with your phone and post it to the app. You get 2 points. If you go to the booth of X-Unity, who's one of the sponsors there, you'll actually get 20 points. And basically, at the end of every day, the person who's top of the leaderboard gets, well, top 3 actually, not just the top 1, the top 3 people. There is a phone available, there is a tablet available, and a multimedia TV box available. And we're giving, X-Unity are giving away those every single day of the show. Those people are participating and competing on the leaderboard. And if you go there now, you'll see a lot of people already in there. They're putting comments in, they're excited about the show, they're giving comments about how the app's working for them, and by far this is the best app we've ever had.
Yeah, if you look at the leaderboard now, if you go and download it and look at the leaderboard, currently it's Tanya Houston, one of your ISE folks that helped us all out a lot, Stephanie Hannell, is at the top. She's not at the top. She's close to the top. But yeah, you're on there too. You're in like 5th place.
Yeah, but I'll hold back because I don't want to win. It'd be embarrassing if I won that.
I'll tell you what. There's a guy that's coming with us who is, in my mind, he's a Twitter and social media master. His name's Chris Netto. Actually, last year at Infocom, he broke Twitter. He tweeted so much about.
We won him.
Yeah, exactly. He may very well end up winning all 3 days. So, but yeah, that's kind of neat.
Actually, Tim, you can tell him you can link our app to your Twitter, to your Facebook, and your Google accounts, and it will actually post to those accounts simultaneously.
All right. Well, I'm not kidding. he may very well. He may break your app, Mike. If he does, I apologize in advance. I don't know. He may be watching this at some point, so he may actually call in. So.
I mean, we would welcome comments coming back because we want to improve this in the future. The idea is not just to create a game. The idea here is to create a tool that makes attending the exhibition, being part of ISE, really work for you. We want to make it easy it's a big show. We're a 3-day show, and 3 days is not enough to get around. We have over 1,000 exhibitors.
Well, next year you're doing 4 years. Or 4 years. Good Lord, 4 days.
4 years will be a long time. We're going to 4 days.
Trade show.
Yeah.
We're going to 4 days because there's demand from both exhibitors and attendees. There are a lot of people come just for 1 day, but it's not enough. If you're focused, you say, well, okay, I just want to see perhaps unified communication, and I want to see some of the solutions on that. You might be able to actually do that in 1 day. But if you want to have a broader view of the exhibition and see more solutions, more technologies, then you need more time. And 3 days for 1,000 exhibitors is not enough.
Yeah.
So we've extended to give those people a chance, and more so because of the number of people coming to the show. Last year, we hit over 51,000 attendees to the show. At present, the pre-registration, we're running something like 27% ahead of where we were at this time last year.
Oh, wow.
Now, that'll tail off a little bit, and on Monday we'll give out some figures, and obviously on Thursday, not on Monday, on Tuesday, Tuesday morning, we tend to announce what our pre-reg is. On Thursday, we'll tell you how many people actually attended. But it looks like, we're going to hit another record. We think it's phenomenal. And with that, the show is getting too crowded. So we have a responsibility towards our attendees and our exhibitors on the factor of safety and not letting the halls get too crowded. So we need to spread that volume over at least 1 more day to give people that comfort feeling.
Yeah. Well, Peter Brown from Stewart, you guys are one of the people, one of the exhibitors. From you guys' standpoint, Stewart Film Screen does film screens, honestly, all over the world. So how important is ISE to you guys?
It's one of the 3. When Michael says it, there are 3 big shows for the year. It is a critical show for a company like Stewart Film Screen. It's great too. It combines the 2 key segments for us. I mean, we've got a commercial marketplace that we build a lot of screens for. We have a consumer marketplace, a residential space that we work with. So it suits perfectly for us. It's a great venue. It'll be my first trip too. I mean, I'm actually looking forward to it. Stewart Film Screen has exhibited there for many, many years.
Actually, Peter, you're one of our founding exhibitors. You've been there from the very start, since Geneva in 2004.
Thank you. Good to know. And we're looking forward to what we can accomplish at this show. We're geared up. We've been working pretty much around the clock. We've got press releases going out. We've got all the product starting to get set up as we speak, and we've got new products to launch and a lot of people to see, presentations to give. We're going to turn it into not just an exhibit on the stand, but we've created a destination location for the Stewart booth. And so we've invited some partners to come and give presentations about topics related to the industry. and we've invited our distributors to come and speak out in their language, giving presentations on new products and new technologies. So there will be a whole multilingual atmosphere in, is it in or on the Stewart stand? Michael?
We would say on.
Okay, so on the stand, we will have a multilingual environment. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, let me ask Peter first, you, and then Michael, you. Do you save things? Do you gear some of your product releases for the 3 different shows? Is that so do you have things that that's coming down the pipeline, and you're like, well, let's kind of hold off on that and release that at ISE, or let's kind of tweak this a little bit and make sure it's ready for CEDIA? Or is it just pretty much as the product develops, the next show is when we release it?
Well, we use the shows as a key strategic launching point. So if something might have been ready, let's say we're working on a new technology, and it was ready, in December, and we all looked at each other and said, well, I guess we've got all the I's dotted and the T's crossed, it's ready to go. We would still wait till ISE.
Yeah.
We would hold it back because we want to make the biggest splash. But also from a planning standpoint, we look at the dates of these shows, and it becomes part of the milestone process in development that as an engineering and marketing groups look at, their tasks are geared towards delivering on time to these different segments so that we don't miss a window.
Yeah. Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, Tim, I agree with what Peter says, and we've seen, the first couple of shows that wasn't the case for us. But as ISEs become more and more successful and more important in the market, we find that the majority of the companies, these 1,000 exhibitors, are actually gearing their R&D to fit in with the shows. And they look at points where they can actually get the maximum press exposure. And shows are where the press come. Shows are where the key buyers come. And you can't achieve the same thing so effectively if you try and do it outside. So yes, they do it. I mentioned already that the display manufacturers, a lot of them are actually, they find that we're on the R&D cycle for most of the major Japanese and Korean companies now, because they pull us in. They've got a 4-week span where they get the North American market and the European market by going to CES for the consumer products, and a lot of them are similar. And then they bring it, they ship everything over here directly from Las Vegas to Amsterdam, and they're showing new products. When it comes to those companies who are specifically in the AV sector and not very much just consumer products, they are gearing their R&D to the major shows, which an ISE is the show in Europe for them.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not just the one thing I learned last year. In my real job, I'm a design engineer as well as I run a programming house. Last year, Biamp, audio DSP company, released a significant shift at ISE, but it had a broad spectrum effect, right? And they took their big Tessera server and they squashed it down to a 1-rack unit device, and they called it the Tessera Forte. They released that at ISE, right? This was something that was nowhere on anybody's radar come Infocom of the previous year, or even at CEDIA. Not that they really delve in the residential market, but it was a significant launch for something that not just affects the European market, but it was not an entirely new, but a new product line, but a significant shift in their product line, right? That they used ISE as a launching point, and I thought that was kind of cool.
Well, I think also it fitted, our attendance fits to them, but more so as well, if you're doing a product launch, we're seeing one of the things we see at ISE now is more and more of the North American, Chinese, and Asian press are coming to ISE. So it's not just the Europeans who are here. You're coming now, which is great. But we've got on the radars of most major publishers. And it just adds to the effect of actually making a product launch.
Michael's got it really quite right. It's not just a European platform. It is a global platform. So when we come to ISE, products that don't have to be just European in nature. This allows us to communicate across the entire globe. American press and Asian press do pick up on all of the activities. So it's why I say it's one of the three real points of the stool that you sit on and you take to the market. It's a great event in that respect.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, Mike mentioned the Japanese manufacturers. One of the stories we have this week happens to deal with that very thing. And this comes to us from Market Watch. Japanese TV makers are retreating from overseas markets, quote unquote. This comes to them, quote, Japanese TV makers suffering from a steep drop in sales reflected in earnings reports Tuesday from Sharp and Panasonic are pulling back from overseas markets where they struggle to compete with rivals from South Korea and China. Now, I haven't seen this, but so this was literally news to me. Mr. Tucker, we'll kick this off with you. First of all, do we believe this? And secondly, what's the impact?
Well, I absolutely do believe it. They also mentioned in the Wall Street Journal article about Toshiba, I think you said Panasonic and Sharp were among those. They're scaling back for domestic only because of the heavy competition from China and South Korea. Yeah. This is a classic story of undercutting. I don't know if there's anything to be said to if they're doing it illegally or with malice, but there is a labor and cost to product to market ratio going on here that Japan just can't do anymore. They're having a bad economy as it is. They're still struggling to come out of inflation and what happened to them a number of years ago. In addition to the world recession, they were having their own problems prior to that. Yeah. So it really does come down to that. And as what it means here, they were saying they were selling some of their lines in Indonesia and in some parts of India and stuff. So I think you'll see some stuff probably branded under their name, but it may not be the insides. But at this time and this age, how many products do we know are not really, at least in the consumer market, are not really the name branded on the outside? It's a product built by someone with maybe a daughter board, packaged and labeled.
Yeah.
So as to whether we see it's like Gold Star or Magnavox or something going away completely, I'm not so sure that'll happen yet.
I mean, if I can pitch my part in this as well, I can give you my view from Europe, and what George said already. It is a price issue. The Japanese products have a very good quality, and if you talk to Europeans, and that's the only view I can give, they will, you talk to them about the Japanese products, and they always associate that with quality. But the Korean products are coming in also with quality and much cheaper. And in the consumer markets you've got at the moment where repairs don't happen anymore. I had a TV go wrong, and there was a little blemish on the front of the screen, and I called the manufacturer, and they said, "Oh, we don't repair those anymore. It's not worth it. We just swap out the whole TV." So you start to look and say, okay, if you're going to change your TV every year, every manufacturer is trying to bring something new. This year it's 4K and curved. So if I'm going to change my TV every year, am I going to spend a lot of money on it?
No, absolutely.
I don't think so, and this is what most consumers look at.
Well, and the other thing
they have come down in price. There's no question. It became a price challenge. I have in my history, Tim, I can count 3 companies that I've worked for in my tenure that have all exited, or if their names are in the marketplace now in North America, they're not manufactured by those companies. They are, in fact, using their name as a marketing handle, but someone else is making the product. Price competition is certainly a factor, and the idea that they're going to roll back to the Japanese market, kind of hunker down in their home markets, that's where their brand names are strongest. There's certainly an affinity within Japan for the companies with their consumers who would prefer to buy locally. And as well, many companies had a history of spending more money in their home markets on their marketing than they did in the overseas markets, and in a sense allowed aggressive competition to come in where price became solely the factor. It's also a nature of the North American market where price does seem to be a lot more of a factor, and good enough is considered good enough. It's become much more difficult in particularly the residential world for the the AV integrators to express those incremental advantages of the better product, and it became more and more difficult over the years.
It's becoming more and more difficult for the pro market to say those same things, because when you have a 50-inch display and it's labeled as commercial, quote unquote, or pro, it's typically 2 or 3 times the price of a residential or a consumer grade one. And the CEO or the CFO wants to know what the biggest difference is. And when you can't articulate that, 9 times out of 10, they're going to go to Best Buy or they're going to go to Walmart or Amazon and buy it. And then you are left, dealing with, a consumer grade product. So it's hard even, in the pro market to make sure that the customer understands what they're paying for.
Well, Tim, it's the same thing we see with the touchscreens, with the BYOD. There, I said it right for the first time on the show.
You.
The BYOD. It's with that I have to start drinking my own beer while we're on the show, because that's what I always say. The Apple iPads, the Android pads, they were becoming the de facto touchscreen interfaces. Yep. It's all about price and ease of accessibility, and it is about that disposable nature. I don't have to wait for it to be repaired. I just swap it out. Thanks. Whether you agree with that or not from an environmental set, that's what's happening. Price is driving everything, and even on the pro side, except for, say, like you used to do, education market or really high-end cinema-type stuff, they don't want to wait. They want the part in. They don't want to replace the whole caboodle because the cost of that is not really effective. But, yeah, it's the nature of the market at the moment.
Yeah, unfortunately. Well, we're going to talk about one of these Japanese makers because they did spend some money, right? Panasonic has acquired Video Insight, and according to CI, according to Commercial Integrator, it's to reach into the education market, quote unquote. Now, the only problem I have with that is that Panasonic's already in the education market as far as projectors. But Peter, we'll kick this off with you. What from your standpoint, and Peter is not employed by Panasonic, he's not on their board of directors, so I'll lead with that. But what do you think the thinking is here? What's the idea behind going after Video Insight?
The first thing that was reported anyway was it was part of their diversification and expansion strategy. Panasonic has reported to its stockholders, to its board of directors, that it wants to reach, and I forget what the figure is, but a certain top line turnover number, and in adding companies, that's one way to grow, certainly. Yeah. So from a financial perspective, you bring in more revenue. They are in the educational market. They're strong there with their projectors and a number of other types of products. Adding Video Insight and giving them this type of video integration and control, it also helps them vertically integrate, and that's always an important factor with anyone like a Japanese company, especially. They love vertical integration. They like to be able to have a solution from soup to nuts.
Absolutely. George, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with Peter there as well. It's a Trojan horse approach. They're trying to diversify and get into that market. So, sell them some software and then sell your hardware in the back of it as well. Why not?
Yeah, that makes sense. I never thought about the Trojan horse part. Mr. Chucker, from your standpoint, what's the thinking of Panasonic buying these guys?
Well, I think our guests have touched on most of it, and I think you can sum it up with they want the ecosystem. You said they were getting into the market that we're already in. What they want is the ecosystem. It all is on the backbone. It's all the little pieces on it. You could call it the education Internet of Things, the EIoT. That's what they're looking for, is to get all of that in the data chain. Just like Mike just said, just like Peter just said, you have that long tail of devices you can supplement and add, and just tweak that profit margin just a little bit each time.
Yeah, I like that. We're going to talk about another Japanese manufacturer. Sony is getting into the 4K market. This is from Geek.com. Sony has promised to release a 4K capable PS4. Now, last year, CES 2014, was the year of 4K, right? This was when everybody and their brother came out. They had this display and that display. It was going to be the year of 4K, and it didn't quite happen. A buddy of mine who works for a control company and video company, his name's Kevin, his biggest complaint when we were talking about this was that there was no content. right? And it was the same complaint about 3D. It was the same complaint about HD. Good Lord, 14, 15 years ago now, right? For those of us in the U.S., I still remember when the show ER was broadcast in HD for the first time, right? That was the first big major milestone for content. And now you've got, depends on which provider, and if you believe their marketing, you've got hundreds of HD channels, depend at your fingertips. Same thing with 4K, right? It will get there as the displays, get better and better and less expensive. Then we will stop highlighting the hundreds of 4K content sources. But this is one, right? Mike, from your standpoint, what are you seeing, whether it's European market or other ones, from content providers and the ability to show content and content sources for all of these wonderful and great 4K displays that we'll probably see next week?
Well, 4K content you're only seeing at the high end at the moment. This 4K content coming into the cinema market must be great for Peter. But it's, as you said already, there's not enough there. I can see the point where Sony's coming, because once you start seeing 4K, the kids who are using PlayStations, and I say kids in inverted commas because that is a movable number when it comes to gadgets like this, you're going to start saying, well, actually, I want to see this in better quality. And I think PlayStation is probably one of the most successful or profitable parts of the Sony organization. So if they're not going to satisfy demand by delivering 4K content, and probably the games market is going to be the easiest to actually deliver content in 4K than the TV market or the film market. It's going to be a lot cheaper to produce. I'm amazed. My son is, we have a home cinema at home, and he's down there with his friends at the weekend, and they play on the PlayStation the whole time, and they want good quality. I have to buy an expensive projector because for my kids, because they want to play on the PlayStation.
There's Sony strategy.
Yeah.
Because right now they're the only projector company with a true 4K device in it, and they're leading the way. They're very committed to 4K, which is from a marketing perspective, not to put words in anyone's mouth at Sony. They're leading. They're strong at it. They believe in it. They do have the content element. When you look at the overall corporate structure of Sony, they do want to bring, what shall it be, the chicken or the egg or the chicken first, but they definitely want to make sure they get their chickens and their eggs together.
Yeah.
Gaming, and the article that I saw had PS4 is the lead there. Michael says it, gaming and writing the gaming content, it's a great way to get 4K content delivered into the market, as well as making PS4 that foundational or gateway product, where delivery may be better suited as we get higher and higher bandwidth speeds to bring it through the internet rather than the cable systems or others, where the infrastructure could become an obstacle to getting this content delivered into the American or European or wherever the other homes. So we see it as a great move. Just to add, if anybody else walked through the South Hall in the CES event last month, how much space is devoted to gaming. It's enormous, and we as a company look at that clearly to see this is a lifestyle trend. It's not just kids.
No.
Today it's Michael's kids, but when they grow up, they're going to be playing games, and there are people, all the way through the different age brackets that are big on games. So you can see Sony using this as a strategy to reach out and put their brand name in front of a lot of people and have their product become, the word is gateway. It becomes the key part of the home.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quickly, George, before I get to you, Mike, you have another appointment.
That's why I was just about to see your note, actually.
you have a cab waiting for you, so thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
We will see you next week.
The shame is you're going to hit a subject which I saw in the list of subjects, and I'd love to have made a comment, but
Sure.
I'll throw it in now.
Yeah.
And you're going to talk about the smartwatch.
Yes.
And I've been debating the whole time about, do I get one of these? Now, I'm a watch fan, I buy expensive watches. I buy expensive watches and expensive cars because they're good investments. But watches are becoming a fashion accessory. You actually don't need one.
Yeah.
You know, you've got a phone with you that tells the time, does everything, it takes pictures, and most people can actually survive with that. But they're becoming a fashion accessory. So I'm still torn. I don't know if I would buy a smartwatch.
I'll chime in this way, and I'm one who doesn't wear a watch at all, Michael, and to keep it short for your tab. I'm just thinking ahead going, you know, if I didn't need to carry a phone and all I had to do was wear a watch and carry a tablet, am I going to be better off? I can walk around ISE with my app on my tablet, but I can do all my telephone business on my wrist.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm still to be convinced. I'm waiting to see. I'm sure I will test one. I'm a geek gadget, a geek fan. I go for all the gadgets. I love to see it. I'm a technology freak. So I'm sure I'll get one just to try it out and just see where it is. But the jury's still out with me.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. So,
yeah.
All right.
But thank you all. Thank you for the invitation. I'm
absolutely.
looking forward to seeing you all in Amsterdam next week.
Indeed.
And anyone else who's listening, it'd be great to see you at the show and look forward to it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Mike
Bye-bye.
Blackman from ISE. All right, Mr. Tucker. One thing that so let's kind of break this up here. Peter mentioned this, right? And Mike kind of a little bit. The infrastructure to get not gaming, right? So because gaming right now is a physical media or it's a download, what have you. But to get the content, the 4K content into the home, let's call it streaming. That's what we're talking about here. Whether it's Netflix or Amazon or YouTube, the infrastructure is going through some interesting trials and tribulations. This week, the head of the FCC said that he wanted to make internet a utility, which is something that a number of us who watch this pretty much accepted as a foregone conclusion that he was at least going to attempt it. So with this 4K thing, this 4K train heading right for us, and the troubles that are going on in trying to figure out what the internet is, where do people go that are trying to make this thing happen, trying to make 4K content and get it into the hands of the consumers? Do they go down the road of streaming and hope and pray that the infrastructure will be there with net neutrality and all the other things going on with that? Or do they lean more on the physical media?
Well, streaming certainly is going to rely on FCC's application of Title II. And to hearken his name again, Mr. Josh Schrago on his Sound Reason and on AVNation has a bunch of articles and videos about the implications of that and which way they would turn and what the implications on each were. So to anyone who's really interested in that, I think he's a great starting place. In fact, he's probably a good place to get a lot of information about all that. To that end, so streaming, Title II has to be a utility in some ways or have that net neutrality established. As to the games, gaming is a funny thing. I've seen very few games that are in 4K. I don't think a lot of consoles are going to really apply HDCP 2.2, which is a big craw in the how do I say this? The application and acceptance of 4K content, native 4K content at least. And if you don't know what it is, 2.2 HDCP requires the 2.2. You can't turn it off, that kind of stuff. And it's a big problem, I think, for a lot of integrators. There's not going to be receivers that do it. There's not going to be a lot of professional stuff that will be able to get rid of it. So you're in a quandary here about how that really gets applied. I still think it's going to be shaken out. And, 4K is great, but if they start messing it with like this and you don't have the gigabit throughput that you need and you have the HDCP 2.2 applied in a way that older consoles can't get at least even an HD signal, you're going to be a loss all the way around.
Okay, so let me put my black hat on here for a second, okay?
I thought I was wearing a black hat.
My black hat hacker, thing. I am not a hacker by any stretch. You say that there's going to be receivers that can't get rid of this. There's receivers now that can get rid of HDCP. You're telling me
right.
that the smart people that made those won't be able, and I'm not condoning this, I'm just saying it's out there, right? They're not going to be able to figure out 2.2?
Well, from what I've been reading so far, they're trying to implement it in a manner that it would be very, very difficult to sidestep it.
Now,
I don't know all the technical parts of it yet, so forgive me.
Who's saying this? Is it the people that made 2.2?
Well, you go on the forums, you go on the engineering forums about this stuff. 2.2 is supposed to be able to be even better copy protection. And it's supposed to be the standard ways you do it now with HDMI connectors is supposed to be subverted. Yes, there'll always be some 14-year-old who'll hack it and get around it in some manner, but their intent is double down at this point.
10 minutes. I'm telling you, 10 minutes.
I think this is more than just sort of covering the hole on the coffee maker.
Very nice.
It's a little bit different. Is that Keurig?
It's Keurig. Yeah, if you don't know what he's talking about, the new Keurig has a thing, and you have to use their pods, and you just cover the hole, and it solves it. So.
Yeah. Well, it's like the old days of the dual devices that companies would sell. You know, in the same box, it's either a Mach 2 or a Mach 1, and it was just a jumper pin.
It's like Steve Jobs and Wozniak's blue box. You know that.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's always going to be a hacker out there. All right. Jeez Louise. We're going to get sued.
There will always be content protection. There will always be arguments about content protection. There will always be solutions. We had this discussion when it came to HD and Blu-ray. All we have to do is remember that sound minds get together and eventually solve it. The content world and the display world and the audio world and the consuming world, they'll come together and figure it out.
My question, Peter, is how long will it take? And sometimes that could be a kill. I think last or 2 episodes ago we talked about slow burn revolutions get swamped, and they do. So if it's a slow burn revolution and something else becomes preeminent because you've been dragging your feet trying to haggle out. I mean, look at DVD, was it HD DVD and Blu-ray?
HD.
Those are both formats that are basically dead, just like SACD or DVD AD, audio. No one really buys them. They're still there, but really, they dragged that out for so long that it just became a non-issue. Everyone just went, "Oh, I'll stream."
Sure. Well, and streaming will be the solution for most of how we consume video and audio content. It's already almost there completely. But just to add to the muck that we have, we also have all the displays being shown already at 8K. Wonder what HDCP standard we're going to need for 8K.
You know what, Peter? I liked you up until no, and in all seriousness, I actually am a big fan of 8K. There's one of my favorite stories from the past year was the fact that both the Japanese public television and South Korean are broadcasting 8K, right?
At least for the Olympics, right?
Uncompressed. No, over the air, not over satellite, anything. Over the air, they're doing 8K. Yeah. Now, then, people are going to ask, well, how far and what's the content? I don't care. It was freaking 8K, and they were doing it over the air. So, yeah, I seriously am with you on the 8K. So,
well, we think it's important for bigger and bigger displays too, whether it's a fixed pixel device or a projected image. You really do need more and more of 4K to 8K just to keep the image from looking pixelated. So from that standpoint, we all want to see it come to pass. Hopefully the content, and to George's point, usually the answer is it will be too long if it really has to be arbitrated through the way most things in our political system get arbitrated through. But fortunately, there is a profit motive behind a lot of this, so it's going to get sorted out.
All right, here's I'm going to show my ignorance of screen technology. Is there anything you guys have to do different, or are there opportunities with these higher resolutions when it comes to screen technology that you guys can say, okay, cool, now we have a 4K signal, we can do this and this and this, or now we have an 8K signal, we can do this now that we couldn't do before?
Well, the screen surfaces themselves have to be able to resolve that kind of resolution, which means they've got to be smoother. They've got to be better grade in order not to create basically kind of bad reflection off the screen surface that would come from something that isn't as smooth, something that is if you looked at it under a microscope, would look more like the Rocky Mountains. You're going to diffuse the light off into all kinds of different places. So there are things that you have to do within the screen to get there. Many screen companies have been working furiously to get to 4K and introducing and adding 4K product. Do I get to put the pitch in the 4K since 1947? But when we started our business, the Stewart Film Screen Company was building screens for a cinematic experience, and they were building them for the movie companies around 70 millimeter film, and about what that requirement was, whether it was for the backlit stuff that we were doing with special effects or for front projection. So Stewart Film Screen's always been able to do that kind of resolution. We did the math on 70 millimeter and basically came out with 8 to 10K being kind of what the number would be if you were to translate film into pixels. So yeah, there's things that screens need to do to resolve that. It's something from an industry standpoint why we have everybody saying don't just project images on the wall.
Yes.
And come on, we want every corporate boardroom to stop using the wall as the substitute for a good quality screen.
Or a whiteboard, either one. That
yeah.
In education, that's the worst. That's the one that when I'm designing systems, that's one of the things. And that's I'm going to go off for it in a second. That's the dumbest thing I think that I come across in dealing with wonderful end user clients is the fact that they start value engineering these projects. And the first thing they look at is all of these screens. Well, let's just take out all those screens because that's going to save us the $1.5 million that we're over. Mm-hmm. Right? No.
Happens. Shouldn't.
No,
it shouldn't. Value engineering is a good thing, and there's a lot of places to save money. But when you think about it, and we talk about it with our clients and integrators, it's an infrastructure product. Mm-hmm. Screens of all the different elements in a system. We talk about total cost of ownership. The life of a screen can be measured sometimes into decades. It shouldn't be the thing that gets value engineered out. There will be technology changes in projectors, and there will be technology changes in other devices. But we're begging and pleading every day. Don't value engineer us out.
No, absolutely not. All right, gentlemen, that's going to do us for today. George has bags to pack, so.
Indeed, I do.
To Peter, real quickly. First of all, thank you so much for coming on and for giving us your insights for stuff.
First-time guest. It's really it was a lot of fun. Thanks, Good. Tim, very much.
Good. That is my goal in life. Is that seriously? I ask. I've told people before. I'm the person who asks dumb questions to smart people. So how can people find you, and then how can people find Stewart and you next week at ISE?
Our stand is 1-F50. We're in the first hall.
Okay.
So right up front. It was nice to hear from Michael that Stewart Film Screen has been a foundational brand at ISE, so we get a great location. And we will be there on a lovely 10 by 15 meter stand. Wow. I will be there myself. They can find us at www.stewartfilmscreen.com.
All right. Very good.
They can find us on Facebook, and it's it's at Stewart Film for Twitter.
At Stewart Film. At Stewart Film.
At Stewart Film.
Okay, just want to make sure. I don't go to at Stewart Film Screen. Go to at Stewart Film. So
at Stewart Film, and they'll see our posts from ISE.
All right. Maybe you'll make the leaderboard and win a phone, win a tablet. So.
I downloaded the app while we were on with Mike earlier, and
it is a very good app.
Working on that.
Yeah, it is a very good app. I'm very impressed with it. So, all right, Mr. Tucker, my roommate for next week. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Yes, good to be on. It was great to hear from guys at ASE. I can't wait now. Get a little nervous, but I can't wait.
Are you nervous about spending a week with me or about flying over the Atlantic Ocean? Which is worse?
All of my years of marriage and divorce,
Never mind.
And all of my years of marriage and divorce, I don't know how to answer that question. I'm having a political issue right there.
Where can people find you, Baldy?
They can find me anywhere on social media at Tucker2s. That's TUCKERTUES. I am with Commercial Integrator. I am with a number of other magazines that I just can't think of right now. But you'll find me there. Just put my name. It'll pop up.
Yes, it will. Along with his mugshot. So,
With the numbers.
Yeah, with the numbers.
Take it easy in the red light district.
That's, you know what? If I've heard one pot joke since we got funded, I've heard 1,000. So.
When you said red light district, you didn't say anything about pot.
Well, it's the same. Isn't it the same district? Never mind. I don't know. I don't want to know.
It's where you go for entertainment, including having good legal adult beverages.
There we go.
Or other legal things at your choices.
There's a Heineken tour I've been promised, so that's all I know. Do you know what? Here's the thing. We've got some cool stuff for those of you who are in the U.S. and are not going to ISE. Please follow us next week. There's a ton of stuff we're doing, and we got booth tours. We're going to stop by Stewart's Film Screen, their booth as well. We have a tweet up if you are going to Integrated Systems Europe. There's a tweet up on Wednesday. I just got a text from Mr. Netto. We are right at 100 people so far, so get in there. It's happening at the HD Base T booth on Wednesday. I am chairing a unified communications panel on Wednesday as well. So I'm taking the whole idea of I ask really smart people dumb questions on the road to ISE. So check that out. It's the UC Pavilion. But you know what? Let's start at the website because that's where everything is going to funnel through. AVNation.tv. AVNation.tv, you'll find this program and a host of others. We have a brand new technology wrap coming out tomorrow. We've got all kinds of shows. We've got our debate show, a new ed tech coming down the pipe, a new state of control coming down the pipeline. So yeah, check that out if you would please. AVNation.tv, AVNation.tv. The next time you hear and see us, it will be live from Integrated Systems Europe. And again, thank you so much to our Kickstarter funders for helping that out. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for listening. This has been AV Week.